It is a long process every 2 years to create a working budget from scratch. Our guests today are two of the voices that get a seat at the table when it all gets put together. This year, Kentucky passed a roughly $128 billion budget to fund state operations for the next 2 years. And a one-time spending bill was also passed this year, dipping into the Healthy Budget Reserve Trust Fund. So, Representative Stevenson, I want to start with you on this conversation. The budget always starts in the House.
Yes.
Where do you start whenever the budget gets created?
Well, those discussions start long before session begins. So the budget review subcommittees are meeting a lot during the interim leading up, and so we have cabinets, advocacy groups, all kinds of people come in to make their asks. We are talking behind the scenes. We're meeting behind the scenes about what individually is needed within our districts, what we need to do for the whole as the entire Commonwealth. And so it just kind of, you basically start with what you had and look at what needs to be adjusted and changed and any new things that need to come in. So it's a long process. It doesn't happen very quickly.
People were seeing on camera there some of the conference committee whenever y'all all come together and discuss these numbers. They're big numbers. I doubt I'll have $128 billion in my bank account anytime soon, but you never know. How do you fathom, those amounts that are so big?
Well, obviously they have to be broken down into components, and the lowest level denominator is the single dollar that the taxpayer gives up from the work that they put in, that they entrust with us to spend in a responsible manner. And from there, it is a series of building blocks that ultimately comes up to that large dollar figure. A lot of those taxpayers, some of the more informal process, is they visit us in our home districts. They come to events that we have, they come to our offices, they see us in church and in grocery stores and tell us about things that they think are important, whether it's guardrails or daycares or things going on in schools or rehabilitation or on, right? And so they really inform our opinions when we show up in Frankfort, because ultimately we're responsible to wisely spend the dollars that they send us, and the nexus of all of it is always them.
Now, y'all have had a seat at this table for a differing number of years, and of course, y'all are both in different chambers, so have different perspectives on this. But I'm curious, what are some things that y'all have learned in your time having a seat at this table? It's a very important responsibility.
I think people would maybe be surprised to know that a lot of the compromise that has to happen doesn't necessarily always happen between Democrats and Republicans, but between the House and the Senate. They each come to the table with their own version of the budget and what they would like to see, and then trying to figure out which version works best, or if there's a nice meet in the middle place that we can land. Then there's also a lot of talks about needs versus wants. Obviously there are things that we have to meet needs of Kentuckians, and then there are things that we all want. Some of those get dabbled in, and maybe not all of the needs get dabbled in, and that's where we can get into a few squabbles. But ultimately, I think this year was one of the better years that we sat down, and there was enough money to go around. There was a lot of things that we did. Obviously, there were probably things he would say he would love to have seen in it that didn't make it. There were obviously things I saw or that didn't make it in and upset me, but I think you would probably have 138 different versions of the budget if everybody had their way. So,
yeah, I mean, Senator McDaniel, same question, things you've learned.
I think one of the biggest things is that this is where practical governance comes in, particularly at the federal level, but also at the state level. You hear a lot of people come around and they want to throw out general maxims and talk in broad principles, but ultimately, in state government, and particularly in the state budget, is where the rubber meets the road. It's where you really have to execute for people and invest in ways that allow the Commonwealth the maximum potential to succeed and its people the maximum potential to succeed. We have a constitutional mandate to produce a balanced budget every 2 years. And I have seen every variant of budget, from times when we were very, very lean, coming out of the Great Recession when I first showed up in the General Assembly, to realizing that the pension system had not been giving us correct numbers for decades that we had to address, to the COVID budgets, and now to budgets where we have surpluses that are a result of a discipline that we have executed in a very conservative manner for the last decade, and it has yielded results. But ultimately, state government is about practical governance, not about, talking points. It's about what do you do to best affect the lives of Kentuckians.
And as we wrap up here, we only got a couple more seconds, but I think it is important to note how much Kentucky likely stands out versus what you see at the national level, where there's so much of the sort of stopgap budgets that occur, and so frequently we talk about how close are we getting to a government shutdown that we don't often see here. Yeah.
No, thank God.
No.
Well, thank you both so much for your insight. We'll be right back with Point of Order.